Hi, I'm Sam. Normally I'm behind the scenes writing and sharing wholesome books, my faith in the Lord, and so forth. But today I'm moving out of my comfort zone to talk to you about my invisible autoimmune disease. So at the beginning of this year, I was diagnosed with microscopic colitis, which is a type of irritable bowel disease. I suffered for a few months with severe symptoms while I advocated for answers. And microscopic colitis was honestly very low on my provider's radar. Not only is it a not common diagnosis, but the average age of diagnosis is 65, and I was 29 when I was diagnosed. I've heard it referred to on another YouTube video as the disease that doesn't matter. And once I started researching it, I can see why it seems that way. It's really difficult to advocate for yourself when there's not much information out there, when not a lot of people are sharing their stories, when doctors brush off your concerns, when the topic of bowel habits is still a social taboo. So that's why I'm making this video. There's only one way to diagnose microscopic colitis, and I found that people usually suffer for years before their doctor suggests just a simple test. So in this video, I'm going to just quick break down what IBD and colitis are, how it's different from IBS, Crohn's, and ulcerative colitis, as well as how it's diagnosed, what the treatment is, and then I'll share my personal story. So I do want to preface this video with a warning. Discussing IBD and colitis means that I have to talk about bowel habits and intestines and stool. It is out of my comfort zone, but I think breaking that stigma can help raise more awareness about colitis. So consider yourself warned that things are going to get poopy. So that said, if you do not know, inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD, is a term for two main conditions, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. Both of these affect your digestive system and can cause severe symptoms like stomach pain, bloody stool, diarrhea, weight loss, and really just an array of other health issues. IBD happens when your immune system mistakenly attacks your digestive tract, causing inflammation. And it can be diagnosed through blood work, stool tests, colonoscopy, to visually see damage. And then there are treatments to manage your symptoms while in a flare, but there is no cure. And IBD can be confused with IBS. IBS is, I guess the technical definition is a functional disorder that affects how the digestive system operates, but is often due to poor gut health, high stress levels, aka anxiety and depression. And IBS can often be a general diagnosis when doctors really don't have any other answers, and IBS is just an easy way out. Then there is technically a third irritable bowel disease called microscopic colitis, or MC. Microscopic colitis is a form of IBD, but blood work and stool testing usually comes back normal, and even during a regular colonoscopy, inflammation isn't visible, hence microscopic. So it's difficult to diagnose. It's not really on anyone's radar as much. And the only way to get a diagnosis with MC is through a tissue biopsy during a colonoscopy. So there are two types of MC. I'm going to butcher the first one. It's collagenous colitis, which means that the tissue biopsy would show this thick layer of collagen in the colon lining. And then the second one is lymphocytic colitis. So the biopsy would show an increase of lymphocytes, which is a type of white blood cell in the lining of your colon, like an excessive amount. So like the other IBD types, the cause is unknown. For MC specifically, smoking, certain drugs such as ibuprofen, PPIs, SSRIs, they can increase your risk, but there is not official proof. And of these options, I've only taken ibuprofen. There are peer-reviewed studies about an increase of MC since the pandemic. Also articles about MC relating to mast cell disease and other related autoimmune disorders, but again, nothing is made certain, and not every case is exactly the same. So as far as symptoms go, the main symptom of MC is watery stool, though in many cases it can also include pain, weight loss, fatigue, dehydration, fecal incontinence. It is also incurable, though there are a few treatments to manage symptoms, sometimes temporarily. The most common treatment is budesonide, which is a steroid, but as I've been told, it's a cross your fingers and hope it works medication. Not everyone has success with it, and it is not a long-term solution, especially when you are as young as I am, though there are many who are taking it long-term to keep their symptoms at bay. As with everything, there are risks and rewards, and it's important to do your research, pray, discuss these pros and cons with your doctor, and there are holistic alternatives as well, which I've looked into, but nothing that's proven to reverse or treat your symptoms. And again, I'm not a doctor. There's a lot more information that you can look up about IBD and all of these treatments. So as far as my personal experience, I've always had a sensitive stomach, and I would say IBS-like symptoms, which have always been manageable, nothing more than an annoyance. That is until I approached the end of 2023, and out of the blue, I started having severe digestive difficulties. While things had been on the looser side, like Cincinnati chili, and like 1 to 3 bathroom trips a day, I was starting to go to the bathroom 15 to 30 times a day, and it was like broth. There was no time of day where I was not using the bathroom. It felt like every hour most days, more than an hour every day. My sleep was interrupted at night. I had to cancel plans. I was just staying close to the bathroom, or just laying on the floor in the bathroom. And of course, this kind of stuff is embarrassing to talk about or make a doctor appointment for, because they want to be specific on why you're coming in. And in addition to embarrassment, I was concerned about just paying for an appointment and all these tests just for a doctor to say that nothing looks wrong on the test, that it must be anxiety. So I pushed through the end of the year, and my symptoms were worsening each week, and I knew there was something else going on, and I went in to my first doctor appointment at the beginning of January in 2024. So my doctor ran some lab work and stool tests to rule out Crohn's disease, cancer, and infections like C. diff. I had to do a lot of stool tests, and everything came back completely normal. Nothing was out of the ordinary for inflammation, no anemia, things like that are markers for traditional IBD types. So with that information, my doctor just suggested it's probably IBS from stress, and suggested a prescription that's originally for depression that was shown to help with irritable intestines. And I was grateful for these tests, but I knew something else was going on, and I felt frustrated with no answers, and I kind of felt brushed off. Like I felt this was more serious and that my doctor wasn't taking it as seriously. So I did leave with a GI referral, and that was scheduled for April. And all I had to do was sit and wait around for that appointment. But when you are feeling so ill and your symptoms are worsening, 3 months might as well have been 3 years. It felt far away. And while I hate complaining and making a big deal of things, especially when it comes to like my health, I was exhausted, dehydrated, and just hopeless. If I wasn't in the bathroom, I was resting on the couch. Felt like at the time hardly functioning. It was a struggle socially, and it was a struggle as a wife and a mom and as a sister and a friend, because I couldn't cook or watch a movie or play a game without needing to go to the bathroom. Each trip to the bathroom would take 1 minute, 30 minutes. I started trying to do things at home, like plain foods, chicken, rice, broth, but that didn't seem to matter. If I took a bite of food, I would start to feel sick and need to use the bathroom. And eventually that was becoming mental as well as physical, because I didn't even want to eat food at a certain point, because I knew that if I ate, it would make me feel worse. And if I left the house, I just wouldn't eat or drink until I got home. Or I would skip breakfast, lunch, and the whole day. And I just continued to feel worse. And April was still seemingly really far off. And I went back to my doctor's office for help. And I saw a nurse practitioner instead, going in with the concern that I was really dehydrated because I was really having a hard time keeping up with liquids. And they ordered more tests and completely brushed off my concerns of dehydration. Didn't even test me for dehydration at all. And it was just an unhelpful appointment, probably the most unhelpful one. The provider literally shrugged their shoulders and said, "I have no clue. Are you eating too many salads?" And they sent me out the door to keep waiting for the April appointment. The doctor also suggested I have more peanut butter, which was weird, and also I'm severely allergic, and that's on my chart. So that was just odd. But I switched clinics after that. I did some research. I found a wonderful small clinic with a functional medicine trained doctor. He was the one who got things moving. He operates his own private clinic with this like small town medicine type of feel. Long appointment times, just real care, a real doctor. And the first provider who really took my concerns seriously and believed me. And my first appointment with him was almost 2 hours long, and he listed a bunch of potential things in order of likelihood, given the negative tests that I already had gotten. He didn't want to just go do random stuff. He just knew where we were going to go. So the first thing he wanted to do was check for allergies and food intolerances through an elimination diet. I do have problems with allergies. In hindsight, that probably wasn't the best idea, because I don't think I communicated how badly my symptoms were getting, because it is embarrassing to talk about. But I was increasing my fiber intake as told by him, wholesome soups, and I ended up going to the ER with severe abdominal pain. He was trained to help patients with a good diet in addition to medicine and traditional care methods, but in my case, just fiber and wholesome foods was stirring up trouble, and I was still feeling bad health-wise. No food was tolerable. Chicken breast upset my stomach the least, so that's what I ate. Mostly chicken breast, organic meal shakes, and IV hydration packs from Costco. That was mostly it. So the next thing on my doctor's agenda was running a pancreatic elastase test, which measures how much digestive enzymes the pancreas is producing. So the normal level is over 200. Healthy people see numbers of 400 to 500, and my results were less than 50. But those tests are stool tests for the most part, and they're inaccurate if something else is going on, like colitis. So for a few weeks, that was my potential diagnosis, exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, where the pancreas doesn't have enough enzymes to digest fats and fat-soluble vitamins. I had a special MRI to view my abdomen, which came back normal. And he also ordered an urgent colonoscopy. This is when he mentioned colitis as a potential, but he did brush it off, saying it's probably unlikely, but he still wanted it considered. So which, by the way, I was told that a primary care provider can order a colonoscopy without a GI if needed, if you need to know that. So we were just ruling other things out. At the time, I also was given a SIBO test. I had to blow into these things and send them to a lab that tests for bacterial overgrowth. And it did come back positive for methane predominant bacteria. And my doctor wanted me to start a treatment of antibiotics and thought that this was the likely cause of my distress, that we finally figured it out. But I had a hard time believing that, and I just knew that it was more than just SIBO. So I asked to wait until after my colonoscopy results to treat SIBO, and it was the end of March, and I'm feeling a bit hopeless about the outcome and all these things that are negative. But God answered my prayers on the way home from that appointment, because as soon as I got home saying I want to wait about SIBO, I got a call to schedule my colonoscopy. They had a last minute cancellation, and I was able to squeeze in to an appointment for later that week. And the way things are going, they're getting into some appointments like this are taking a long time with short staff and things like that. So it was nice to be able to get in without needing to see my GI doctor in April, and just speeding up the process a little bit better. And I'm very thankful for that. But to give you a better idea of how I felt at that time, those of you who've been through a colonoscopy, you have to drink this prep liquid, which evacuates everything and cleans you out. I would rather have drunk the prep liquid every single day than go through what I had been dealing with up at that point. Prep, I was so stressed about. I was so worried that it would be awful, but it was so easy, and I made it to my colonoscopy. And I did have trouble getting an IV from dehydration and needed a vein ultrasound because I was dehydrated very badly, and then I was even more dehydrated after the prep. I met with the GI doctor beforehand, who seemed quite annoyed actually that my primary doctor ordered a colonoscopy before my GI appointment. She said that I probably just had stress and anxiety, wanted to know how much stress I was under, and I had the colonoscopy. I was told everything looks normal. She did do the biopsy for colitis. She does not think that it was going to come back positive. And then I got the results, and they were positive. And I was overjoyed because I felt so sick and crazy, and the relief that I felt when I saw that they found something. I mean, I had never wished or hoped for a diagnosis like this, but I would be upset if there were no more answers, disheartened on how I'm feeling. So I was diagnosed with lymphocytic colitis, and I was given the option of taking 6 months of budesonide, which for the time being I declined because, okay, well, there's a lot of reasons that I just won't get into in this video. In any case, being diagnosed with colitis means that I'll be in and out of flares the rest of my life. After my diagnosis, I was given an antibiotic to treat SIBO, which ended up pulling me out of my flare for a few weeks. Since then, I've gone through many good weeks, many not so good ones. Nothing as bad as the original onset of symptoms. That was probably the worst. I am grateful for the diagnosis and for friends and family that offer me grace on the really bad days. And the most important lesson I learned through all of this is that you're your own advocate. If you think something is wrong, get another opinion, seek out alternatives, research, read, call, email. Don't stop until you have answers. Don't accept that generic, maybe it's anxiety, when your gut is telling you that something else is wrong.